Hello everyone, this is Zooc, and today I'm going to be showing you how I design one of those nifty forum signatures that everyone's been using for the past, I think, decade. I started doing these in high school when Photoshop CS1 had barely come out. More for fun, really, because I was involved in a lot of forums back then, and people always wanted this sort of shit done. It was very popular back at the beginning of the 2000s. Everyone wanted forum signatures. It was like an e-peen sort of thing. And there were entire forums dedicated to just this, just making signatures, not to mention tutorial websites, um, even some paid websites that you had to actually pay a monthly fee to be subscribed to their elite tutorials on making meaningless little PNGs. But it was very popular, and people dug it, and it was never a bad thing, really. I mean, it was just Photoshop practice, and that's never bad, which is why I did these as well. I mean, it was really good practice. You sort of taught yourself how like the basics of image manipulation, and just finding a good color scheme or sort of style. That's where the whole grunge thing sort of came from, because grunge wasn't really like a huge element in internet culture until people um, started making themed signatures. And there was grunge, there was tech, there was what else, like slick, there was something else, I don't remember. There are a bunch of terms, but it sparked like a whole mania sort of thing where people made brushes and sort of like I don't even know how many brushes. I still have the brushes I had 10 years ago. Like, I kept all of them. It's gigabytes upon gigabytes of Photoshop brushes that are more or less useless. Some are pretty good. Some I still use nowadays and stuff that I make. But of course, a lot of them were garbage, and that's normal. It happens. But yeah, it was a very popular thing. And I sort of stopped eventually because it became too, I don't know, it just became too. Ugh, everyone did it. Everyone was making it. Everyone was doing it. I stopped browsing those forums that I used to browse. I don't even remember what it was about. Probably like games or graphic design shit or something like that. Maybe porn. I don't know for sure. But once I stopped doing that and started working on other things in Photoshop, I sort of lost interest in these signature thingies. But I've done them along the years for people. Oh, wow. Yeah, wow was like the big thing. 6 years ago, I was doing tons of signatures for WoW forum people. Obviously not on the official forums, but whatever fan forums they had. And I was pretty good at it, but yeah, sort of became boring. The same old fucking bullshit over and over again. But right now I got paid for this, so of course I'm not gonna say no to money. I've gotten to the point where I don't really work for free anymore, so I guess it was better to make a video out of it to show people like how I go about doing these things, because everyone out there has their own method, and there's method in my madness as well, as they say. So it's just interesting. Maybe people like it. But when approaching like themed signatures, I try to use, especially Blizzard themed signatures, I always try to use the assets that they have, because as much as I'm all for originality, some of their assets are too good to pass on. Like some of the textures and the walls and the backgrounds that they make for in their art department is absolutely fucking perfect for what I need most of the time. Like, I'll go about using Blizzard stuff for even for non-Blizzard themed like art projects and whatnot, because it offers the perfect amount of either tech off of the StarCraft site, or like medieval grungy sort of stuff out from the WoW site. And now with Diablo coming out, there's like a whole new level of medieval style textures and borders and all sorts of stuff. So there's no reason for me not to use what's offered to me, because I just want to make something a decent looking project. So it's normal. And last time I made the Total Biscuit t-shirt, like there was some retard whining that, oh, you suck, you only use like pre-made shit and you only use layer styles. And it's like, yeah, because I'm gonna sit there to achieve the same effect that I can achieve with a ready-made layer style that I either made myself or that someone else made, which I could make, but it would take an insane amount of time. Like I've bought a lot of layer styles off a graphic river or whatever, and I get to use them because it's a product I paid for. The guy got his money, so there's no reason for me to not use something that doesn't take so much time to achieve. Like, what's the point? All designers out there use pre-made items in their project. There is nobody out there that does their designs from scratch, and if they do, they're doing it wrong, because so many resources are out there that make your job easier and more efficient, time efficient, because design is all about time efficiency. You can't sit there and work on a business card for fucking 2 weeks, because nobody's gonna hire you for that term. No, when you get hired to do something, you gotta put it out as soon as possible. Same in concept design, same in anything remotely related to art. Time is a big factor, and when so many tools are out there that save you an unnecessary amount of steps, then there's no reason not to use them. It's not cheating, it's just efficient use of what's already offered to you. So anyway, in designing this signature, this guy wanted a barbarian because it was his character or something. He's the first level 60 in Greenland, and he's a guy that's bought drawings from me in the past, so it's all good. He's trustworthy, etc., etc. So I took a barbarian, cut out the image, used a layer mask for non-destructive editing, as it's called. Non-destructive, basically, instead of using an eraser and constantly hitting Control-Z when you fuck up, you use a layer mask, and you just use black and white brushes, and you can always fix your mistakes without undoing over and over again. And decided to color his armor blue because there was just too much yellow in the image, and applied a few layer styles. As always, like, I mess around with the image with the curves and levels. There's really no method to this. This sort of design is all about trial and error and experimenting and seeing what works. This is why tutorials are so pointless, because even though you could find out something nifty like, oh, I didn't know about this function, in the essence of it, it's still a lot of trial and error, and no tutorial out there could be made to teach you how to make something that's going to be different from what's in the actual tutorial, because ideas spark from a lot of elements, a lot of colors, a lot of, you can notice something that you didn't notice before, and then it's like, oh, okay, this gave me this idea. So you can't really teach art, because it's, at least in this sense, because it's all about intuition and using it efficiently. So here I didn't have any plan, I just put the barbarian there, and it sort of went from it. I used the rule of thirds, which is basically dividing your work area into 9 rectangles, and put his face at the intersection of the top left 2 rectangles, because apparently the human eye has a natural tendency to focus on that area. So, for example, in photographs, people always use the rule of thirds to put like people's faces at the intersection of said lines. 2 lines vertical, 2 lines horizontal, and wherever they intersect, those are points of interest. So that's what, it's a popular technique in any sort of design. Use it here as well. It's that's about it. Like, then I wanted to use one of those images that with the city, which didn't quite work out. So I just took an image of Diablo just to have something in the background, and then remember that I had some letters with the fire effect because it's all fiery themed and whatnot. So I used those just to give it the realistic fire effect, because those letters are very well done. Don't remember what I downloaded it from, but it was just a random website, really. I always, when I browse for stuff and I find something interesting, I download it straight away, put it in my resource library to keep it for further use, because there's always going to be a need for stock imagery, no matter what. And sometimes I tend to use things that weren't meant for that particular purpose. Like, I see an image with an interesting color scheme, then I apply a motion blur to that image and use it as a color overlay just to give it that particular color scheme with those particular colors. And it's just stuff that makes your job easier. Then I just use Diablo in the background. You can't really see it anymore. The text took the longest time, as per usual. Any designer out there is gonna tell you that text is always problematic, but you gotta be persistent and spend a lot of time on it, and eventually you'll reach a stage that you're happy with. And as for the rest of the stuff, just embellishing everything using borders to make the character pop out, and giving it like shadows over shit to make it look like it's somewhat three-dimensional, giving it a vignette effect with the gradient at the edge of the image, and then applying an overlay border with like black, yellow, black, which is one of the most common techniques used for signature creation, just to give it a little bit of extra, whatever, extra zing, if you want to call it that. So that's it. That's basically the image. This is less a tutorial and more like a design process mentality / small history of this particular item. But I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you for my next videos. Bye-bye.